All right, we're into a slower day again. We have Arizona tonight is in New York against the Islanders. Let me do that. Um, I'll take it's a back-to-back for Arizona. Um, I'll take the Islanders in that one. I'll say 4-2. Uh, Louis Domingue wasn't great, and then Justin Peters went in, and Justin Peters is an okay third stringer, but I think the Islanders with a 1-3 record are going to be motivated to win tonight. Chicago's on a two-game winning streak. They're in Columbus. I'll take Chicago in that one. I'll say 4-1. Nashville is in Detroit. Nashville's lost their last two. Detroit's won two in a row. I believe this one is on nationwide tonight. Um, and I honestly feel that Detroit's two-game winning streak is a sign that maybe people who say that they're on their way down, they're wrong. But um, and I didn't predict Detroit was going to fall apart this year either. I've said they're not that bad, but some believe that they are. Jimmy Howard had 31 saves and 32 shots the other night. If Jimmy Howard can get his game back, that's going to silence a lot of critics and leave Detroit in a good position, because if they have two good goalies, because Mrazek's a good goalie, if they have two good goalies, then they will be able to find a market for one of them. It's a tough call though between them and Nashville, because Nashville they lost some rough games along the way here. They probably should have won that game against Dallas the other night, and it was stolen by Antti Niemi. So I'm gonna have to pick, aren't I? I'm gonna pick Detroit over Nashville. I'll say 2-1 in overtime. I'll say that Jimmy Howard, if he's in, keeps it up, and if Peter Mrazek's in, he's feeling the heat from Jimmy Howard, and he's got to play well. So it's a slow night tonight for October 21st, and there really isn't a whole lot to add right now. I mean, we're into this part of the season now where things are going to start rolling really quickly, and teams that get off to good starts are going to fall back. Teams that have fallen back are going to. I mean, there's not usually very much between the top and bottom of the league in that first month. It's not usually until about the end of November we start seeing some real separation. Um, the one interesting thing in this though is that usually the teams that are in the playoff positions by middle and end of November are you the ones that are there at the end of the year as well. Like, so you can recover from a slow start to this point of the season. I guess too that because the season started a week and a half later, I guess I can say early December. But um, either way, we're still at the part of the season where your year isn't over if you're the Islanders and you're 1-3. But you got to get worried, because let's say Arizona comes in tonight and beats the Islanders, and the Islanders dropped 1-4. How far down do you go before you start to have to make moves? How far down can you fall? Because with parity being what it is, a slow start can be disastrous. Um, and the Islanders are one of those teams that are definitely a bubble team. There's a lot of them. There really is. I mean, there's half a dozen true contenders in the league right now, probably. And outside of that, everybody else could finish almost anywhere, um, with a couple of exceptions. But every time I mention those exceptions, people say I'm wrong. So whether it's Carolina or Buffalo or Vancouver, I'm wrong. Um, I'm talking about whether or not they could be contenders, and just saying no. Um, the rise of Edmonton, I called before the season started that Edmonton was going to be better. That Oilers fans were going to have a lot more to celebrate this year than they did last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And I think I've been proven right so far. Um, but it's early. I think the thing that gets me is the funny part is, when a fan base hears somebody say something about their team and they go, "Well, we're off to a really good start. We're doing really well." Um, and then if I was to mention the Oilers, or how Toronto's looked early, they'd go, "Well, it's early. They'll still suck later." They're Edmonton. They're still gonna suck. Oh yeah, Calgary sucks. Toronto? Oh, Toronto sucks. They still don't have any defense. They still suck. So the fan base, it's almost as if they exist in a world where the only thing that matters is their team, and that's where I've always been different. Always. And that's never going to change because I don't put all my eggs in one basket. This book is 700 pages. What was I thinking when I bought this yesterday? I've got almost every Dean Koontz book that's ever existed. This book's 700 pages. I think I got it because I was like, well, this will help me sleep. But now I've slept 21 hours in the last 2 nights. I am very well rested, but the problem is now I've slept away about half of my day. And I was going to go to the mall with the girlfriend today, and Guilford anyways. And now it's not as early as I'd like it to be when I get up. I like to get up by about 7 in the morning on my weekend, just to make sure I get everything done. It's not 7 in the morning now, it's 10 in the morning. So I don't know. Definitely going to be looking through this magazine. They also have in here comparison of Cami Granado and Haley Wickenheiser. I'll go through that at some point too. The debate about whether or not to discuss women's hockey, I guess it's sort of like in terms of other out-of-the-way hockey stories, there's the Prince George Cougars, who right now are doing very, very well. Let me take a look at the WHL standings. Because I had heard they were doing really, really well. And Prince George, been nothing in the WHL for a long, long time. They've produced some solid NHL players, but in terms of actually being NHL players of consequence while playing in the WHL and having a good team that can compete, hasn't been a good story for Prince George. While the internet is insanely slow for me, apparently there's some sort of cyber attack going on, and then they say, oh, it's social media sites. Oh, well then, it's not affecting me because I'm not on Facebook. Everybody else is. I'm just not a fan. Yeah, my Google search isn't working right now. Come on. I hear you. Why are you sitting on my jersey? Why are you sitting on it? That's not for Kitty. WHL.ca/standings. Then the other thing too is they mentioned cyber attack, and it's like, oh, it's affecting, it's attack on America. Oh, okay. The internet's interconnected through this series of tubes, right? And we're all on it. And if a website's attacked that Americans use, then it's attacked for everybody. I don't really understand this. It's like, I don't mean to get political, but I always told my kids when they were growing up, World War III really isn't economically feasible. Why would China attack the U.S.? The U.S. owes them so much money. Here comes my kid. I think. See, this is what happens when I don't drink pop. And it's first thing in the morning. Get over here. Go over here and shut up. This is Link. He won't shut up. Ow! Stop clawing me. You want my attention or not? Stop sitting on my jerseys. Oh, shit. And the WHL site doesn't want to load. Isn't that interesting? Yep, nothing. Oh, glorious. I just want to load this just to see that it's Putin. I don't know if this is related to any kind of cyber attack or not. I have no idea. Could be, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I always told my kids, I always said that, everybody owes everybody else so much money that the idea of going to war with countries just isn't economically feasible anymore. Because then what happens? Do you declare it like a default on the loan? If let's say there was a battle between China and the U.S. going on in the middle of the ocean, does China then say, okay, well, then we're going to call in all your loans, and then the U.S. economy completely just dies? Like, But then for China, how does that help? It doesn't help China either. There's a reason all those deficits and loans exist. Anyways, that's too heady. Sorry. That's far too heady for things right now. Yeah, Prince George is 10-2-1. Victoria is 6-5. Which is good because Victoria is the former Chilliwack Bruins. Kelowna 5-6, Vancouver 5-8, which surprises me because Vancouver, in the CHL you have certain cities, certain places that kids are more attracted to playing in, so those organizations do well. I think of the London Knights. In the OHL, for instance, yeah, it's taking forever to load. Everett's doing really well. Portland's doing really well. Portland Winterhawks are always a pretty solid team, anyways, though. There's Seattle at 2-4. Regina's at 7-0-3. That's actually kind of a surprise to me, anyways. Moose Jaw 7-2-2. I used to love when I lived on the prairie and we'd drive to the air show in Moose Jaw from Regina. I used to just love the name of the city, Moose Jaw. Cities using that term really, really liberally. Brandon 3-3-2. Prince Albert 3-5-1. Medicine Hat 7-3-1. Red Deer 5-3-1. Lethbridge. Edmonton's at 3-5-2. Calgary's 3-3-1. Kootenay Ice 1-6-3. But the Prince George Cougars being up at 10-2-1 is genuinely news. It is newsworthy. Now I've clicked on Prince George, and odds are it's going to take forever for that to load. What is it with the internet today? Oh, come on. Go to Prince George. I've never wanted to go to Prince George. I'm just kidding. Well, it's pretty far north. Which is part of the reason I think why there's such a good story early on here. Yeah, that's not. It's just going to take forever. Anyways, I was just trying to make a point here before my internet went all kerblooey. Best goalie, Luongo versus Van Beesbroek. That's quite a challenge for Florida. The winner is Luongo. Better face of the franchise, Robitaille versus Dion for the Kings. Gretzky. As much as I loved both Robitaille and Dion, I'm sorry. Gretzky's the one that rejuvenated that entire thing. And tougher player, Semenko versus Larocque, and the winner's Larocque. Better captain, Yzerman versus Howe. Howe. Better season, Ben versus Turco. I don't even know what season they're talking about, but I'll say Ben, because I wasn't a huge fan of Turco. Bigger surprise season, Mason versus Bobrovsky. Mason, because he was a rookie, and he never did it again. Better player, Sakic versus Forsberg. Sakic. Better defenseman, Keith versus Chelios. Keith. Better player, Brindamore versus Stahl. Brindamore. More regrettable trade, Gilmore versus Hull. Gilmore. Because they never won the cup after they traded Gilmore. Into the Hall first, McGillney versus Andrechuk. It should be Andrechuk. I don't think McGillney ever makes the Hall. Worst trade, Sagan versus Thornton. Thornton. Look it up. It's Thornton. Better U.S.-born player, Roenick versus Tkachuk. Roenick. And I say that through gritted teeth. Bigger impact on the cup. 2007 Cup. Niedermeyer versus Pronger. I'd say Pronger. What else is in here? Better player, Gabrick versus Koivu. Oh. They've both gone south, though. That's really hard to say. Gabrick. Best dynasty, 50s versus 70s. I don't know. 70s, I guess, because they had the most points that a team had ever had. Best defenseman, Suter versus Weber. That's not as easy as it sounds, actually. I'll say Weber. Based on what I saw of him in Montreal last night, Weber. Montreal fans are going to love Weber by the end of this year. And a lot of people who pan that trade are going to be quiet for now until like 5 years from now. And then it'll be like, see, Weber's old now. See? Best defenseman, Stevens versus Niedermeyer. Stevens. Worst trade, Chara versus Luongo. Oh, Luongo. Better Mr. Ranger, Leach versus Gilbert. I'll go with Leach. I never saw Gilbert play, so I'm sorry. Bigger villain, Heatley versus Yashin for Ottawa fans. I'd say Heatley. Ottawa fans can enlighten me on that one. Best line, LCB versus Legion of Doom. LCB was Leach, Clark, and Barber. Well, let's go with Leach, Clark, and Barber since the Legion of Doom line never won the cup. Bigger surprise start, Murray versus Lalim. Okay, now I've been around for both. Lalim 12 with the Cleveland Lumberjacks. November 96. Starter Tom Barrasso was hurt, and Lalim entered a game in relief of Ken Reggett. Lalim allowed 3 goals and 14 shots. He looked like an IHL goalie. Then came magic. Reggett sustained an injury a month later, and Lalim went 14-0-2 over his first 16 decisions. The longest unbeaten streak to start an NHL career. Lalim was much less heralded than Murray, but can anybody say that winning a Stanley Cup as a relatively unknown rookie isn't a bigger accomplishment than Lalim's surprise start? I'll go with Murray. Better shooter, Hall versus McInnes. That's impossible to call. McInnes had a better slap shot and Brett Hall had a better wrist shot. So, I mean, McInnes was the best shooting defenseman and Hall was the best shooting forward. And I hated Brett Hall, but I didn't like Brett Hall, but I would give him the nod between the two. Bigger heartbreak, 2014 versus 2016 for San Jose fans. 2016, that was the Stanley Cup final. 2014, they were up 3-0 in the first round. In Tampa, better decisions, signing Stamkos or letting Stamkos walk. I'm going to make people angry. Signing Stamkos was the right move. Better player, Gilmore versus Sundin. Matt Sundin, I never liked Gilmore. Tougher loss, I talked about that one last night. 94 was the tougher loss. Better playmaker, Baxter versus Oates. Anybody who knows me knows I can't be completely objective about this. My buddy Adam Oates. Dustin Byfuglien, defense versus forward. I like him better as a defenseman. All right. So that's my hockey talk for this morning. This afternoon for those of you who are in the East Coast. And yeah, so I'm going to get myself something to eat and drink since apparently my kid drank his Coke and then decided that mine was fair game because I'm missing a couple of cans of Coke somewhere. I get different brands for the two of us. I get Diet and I get him just the regular. I get him the regular stuff because, he's 16. He can drink regular pop. It's not a big deal. His metabolism hasn't told him to go to hell yet. Mine told me to go to hell about 15 years ago. Anyways, I've got a day planned today, sort of, which is now kind of screwed by how late I woke up. But I'll get there. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're passing through. And I will talk to you all again later in the day.